Hello, dear friends. We are sincerely happy to welcome you again. And today we're going to talk to the esteemed Igor Mikhailovich Danilov.
Greetings.
Igor Mikhailovich, the subject of the existence of aliens, UFOs, the existence of intelligent life beyond the Earth has certainly always interested people. It has always stirred people's minds, and nowadays it is interesting to many people as well. And the point is that for a long time we all have been imposed on an opinion and an attitude to this topic as something unscientific, as heresy, or that people who talk about aliens are not serious, to put it mildly. Now the situation is dramatically changing because that very Pope says that the doors of the Vatican are open to everyone, including extraterrestrials. We see the Pentagon holding open congressional hearings about UFOs. And the latest event is the news that has stirred the whole world because the world media made a lot of noise when they said that some unidentified flying objects had been discovered and even destroyed over the territories of some countries. To be honest, actually, of course, there have emerged many objects of such kind. People observe them all over the world, and there has been an increase in the number of cases when these reports are coming in. Thus, a question arises: what is this activity related to? Why is there so much talk about aliens and unidentified flying objects at this time, even at a high level? And if aliens do exist, then why is it exactly these days that they are flying here to us so often?
Who said they are flying to us? A simple question. This may be a misconception. Maybe they aren't flying to us, but because of what's going on, let's say, both in our geopolitics and in climate, maybe they are just flying away, so we've started seeing them.
This is unexpected. What a twist!
Well, who knows, right?
They're evacuating.
Emergency evacuation, right?
Yes.
Well, it's actually sort of a speculative topic. You see, they kept silent, and now, all of a sudden, they started talking. Maybe this is the category of, let's say, don't look down into the bowels of the earth and around you, but look up so as not to notice what is happening under our feet.
As a distraction of attention, right?
Of course.
When they shift our attention to the other side.
It's just they've already gone so far into a dead end that all that's left to do is make a step and destroy each other. The doomsday clock has already been set forward.
By the way, this is also an interesting point. You have touched upon this nuclear threat. Indeed, they tell us that the doomsday clock is set forward by 10 seconds closer to the nuclear midnight, and do you know how people calm themselves down? Very often there have been reports on the web that former US military personnel observed unidentified flying objects hovering over military bases. And at the moments when they were visible and hovering over the military base, the targeting systems of those very nuclear missiles were somehow turned off. Based on this, people make a conclusion that extraterrestrials are saving us from a nuclear war. Will they actually save us?
They won't. No one has the right to interfere in our affairs. That's one side. And do you know what I like even more? That they allegedly shot down an unidentified flying object, which expressly implies that extraterrestrials came to us, and our valiant military forces shot down their ship. Isn't it funny? You see, again, this gives false hope to people that we are able to defend ourselves. Even when attacked by aliens, we have something to repel the attack with, so to say. Well, in reality, I have an acquaintance who worked in the field of observing unidentified flying objects for a very long time and was directly involved in the study and observation of UFOs. So he says that it's impossible to shoot down a UFO. He says, we tried many times. It didn't work. And in this case, these are actually the words of truth. For our friends, we can put it this way. Imagine, friends, if kind of a time portal appears and we can go in a modern, armored military helicopter. For example, 1,000 years back, for a short period of time, a simple question: would arrows, what else? Spears, sticks, tomahawks,
Right.
be a serious threat? Would they be able to shoot down our modern military helicopter? Now, let's take even the first level of the development of civilization. It is clear that they won't come from far away, from another galaxy, but they might be somewhere near our arm, in our galaxy. Of course, they might pay visits. They are still much more advanced, more developed, and have other technologies, while nuclear weapons are no longer quite relevant. Let's say, even nuclear weapons. And all our means, missiles, airplanes, and everything else are like those very bows and those very spears, you know, which people had 1,000 years ago. It is absolutely the same compared to a modern combat helicopter. Well, if they are able to fly here, their technological advancement is much higher. The same thing regarding flying saucers coming and crashing here. Well, isn't that a paradox? Honestly, I cannot imagine, let's say, a civilization of the second or the third level that is capable of crossing millions and billions of light years, and at the same time they allegedly fly to us and crash here. You know, have some kind of a breakdown. Well, this is actually unrealistic. Yet, let's just say, even aggressive ones. Again, this is not something we invented, friends. History speaks about this, and there are lots of artifacts in this regard. Excuse me, even in religions, there are a lot of images of unidentified flying objects with people in them. People couldn't have drawn it without reason in those days. They saw it somewhere. They knew something. That's why they drew it that way, right? These are the facts.
Intelligent life outside of Earth does exist.
Certainly, of course.
Yes, it's a fact.
And if they fly to us, for instance, the ones at the fourth level of development, and they can also be quite aggressive. I mean, soulless beings. So if we compare their technological capabilities, this is far from the comparison we made when we talked about a modern, armored combat helicopter and people with arrows, bows, and spears against it, right? This is like, I don't know. Those are not even monkeys with pebbles and sticks, you see? They are amoebas. There is no other way to put it. It's even difficult for us, at our level of development, to imagine what capabilities a civilization has at the fourth level of development. For understanding, we once talked about it, and there are also facts confirming it. There are those very Apexians who ruled here for almost 1,000 years. People were in slavery to them, so imagine, they were gods for us. We really perceived them as gods and worshipped them. In fact, it is they who created religion for us. So how can we compare and contrast? They don't need nuclear weapons to destroy a civilization like ours, and it makes no sense for them to destroy it. Only movies show that aggressive aliens come just for the sake of destroying. Well, let's put it this way. Highly developed civilizations are actually smart enough to use their means and capabilities rationally. Merely that.
Igor Mikhailovich, it turns out that it is certainly an indisputable fact that aliens exist.
Of course, they exist.
And what we now observe in mass media and what is now being said at a high level is in fact speculation and distraction of attention on this topic. A question arises.
As of today, yes.
And a question arises, why do they do that? The thing is that people have such theories that perhaps this is the idea of the globalists who want to form such a one-world government and to unite all of us against some external threat. After all, this hasn't come out of thin air.
Not out of thin air. I'll put it this way. If a spaceship came now, or at least if they showed us a hologram of a spaceship, that is in orbit, and we could see it. Let's say, all over the world, that it is there. We would unite. That would really work. Why? We would all be scared. We are all well brainwashed by various sci-fi movies. And if we were also told that a mothership has arrived, which has a bunch of other small ships on board, a lot of extraterrestrials, and they are capable of taking us over, but they aren't landing. They are hovering because a whole armada is still coming, and in a month, 2 or 6 months, they would approach the Earth. Certainly, we would unite. We would choose a one-world government and give them all the resources and the entire control.
Moreover, some people suddenly recalled the 40th president of the United States.
Reagan.
Yes, Reagan, who said that, won't we overcome all our disagreements if we face an external threat, let's say from outside of our world, our planet? And the following question arises, Igor Mikhailovich. In essence, to what extent is such a unification based on fear effective
Stable.
and stable? Yes.
It is not stable. It holds as long as we perceive fear as reality. Again, here we need to understand that fear oppresses us, and we look for ways out of this fear, out of this egregore, to escape, to leave, to overcome oneself, to create for oneself an illusion of safety or something else, but we seek to get away from it. I'll put it this way. If a real threat of an alien invasion was really demonstrated to modern humanity now, we would all unite. All people would be for that. Why? The instinct of survival, the fear exaggerated by the media from all screens, like it is now, everywhere,
Right.
both on the internet and on TV, everywhere. Mainstream channels talk about aliens and the like. But I have a different question. We really have the Cerberus in our yard, yet we do not see it, and mainstream channels do not see it. No one tells people about it from high podiums. They say, yes, there is climate change. Everything is serious. Well, they can no longer say there is no change because what is happening is already too obvious, so to say. But no one is saying that the Cerberus is hungry, angry, and it has come for justice.
It's amazing how people want to believe in completely different versions, that everything that is happening in the world is somehow man-made, that those are the consequences of climate weapons, that all this is...
Again, let's take what has happened in Turkey. This is indeed a serious tragedy. And here, if we consider it as a climate event, an earthquake is one of the series of those manifestations of climate change. It is really horrible and scary. What do they start telling us? That this is man-made, that it is someone's sabotage. Such nonsense is voiced that they drilled a 14-kilometer deep hole, planted a nuclear weapon, and that is what caused such destruction. Meanwhile, people believe in it, you see? They want to believe in it. Again, let's take the territory of the Arabian Peninsula. What did the authorities claim after the flood? When they had the first, quite severe flood, what did they say? Don't worry, people. It was us conducting some climatic trials in order to cause rain and fight the drought. But we overdid it, and people calmed down, right? There was no panic, nothing. Since it was man-made, there was a mistake. That happens. Now they are already silent. Now, again, officially, no one among the leaders is saying seriously from a big podium that all the prophecies left by the Prophet Muhammad are coming true. So what kind of followers of the Prophet are they in such a case? A simple question. If they keep silent about it, yet everything he spoke about is there.
As for the situation in Turkey, once people felt that it is necessary to unite, reach out towards each other, and overcome all disagreements, There immediately arose such versions about climate weapons, about the confrontation among countries, which in fact
Divide and rule.
divide people even more.
Just divide and rule.
And who do people rely on in such situations? After all, they also hope that
You
these
see-
issues will be solved at the top, that they will reach an agreement.
Of course, we are taught this. We have been taught for 6,000 years that we cannot decide anything on our own, that there is a king, there is a prince or a commander who will decide everything for us. And as an inert, silent herd, we will have to execute that. We should rely on our king or commander to make a decision. Well, we won't be able to do anything, you see? And again, even now, we are sitting and hoping that someone will come and solve it. Now we are being told about aliens. This is one of the versions too, right? They fly here to us, and they also, well, subconsciously, we hope, as you said, that they can even interfere with nuclear weapons and disable them in order to
Save us.
save us, yes, from the nuclear threat and from the climate threat. My friends, nobody has the right to interfere. If higher civilizations had the right to interfere in our life, we would have long been a highly developed civilization too. This is natural, but there is such a concept as freedom of choice. If we ourselves are immature, if we ourselves are not ready to change our world, to get away from what is bad and come to what is good, to significantly change our life for the better, it is our choice, and we are responsible for it. Prophets came to us. They spoke about a better world. They spoke about how we should live. And they said what it takes to do that. Excuse me. We have religions with billions of people in them, but we don't have those who truly love God, who truly listen and are faithful to the prophets whom God sent. We do not fulfill what God's messengers actually wanted us to. Isn't this true? If we did that, we would have already long been a highly developed civilization as well. Everything is very simple. However, we have consumerism, the power of Satan, a desire to dominate and rule over someone. You see, we just don't understand what power is. Power is a scary thing because that very entropy of power is war. As long as there is power of someone over someone in this world, wars will go on and we will die. This is not right. And the very fact that nuclear weapons exist in a consumerist format indicates that, whether we want it or not, we will face the use of nuclear weapons. You know, it's like in a theater, there's a gun on the wall in the first act, which means that in the second act, it will definitely shoot, if not earlier, and we cannot get away from that. It is sad and unpleasant, but it's true. And every time they bring us, to the boiling point, like any minute, now we are about to be attacked with nuclear weapons. All of you should buy iodine and so on, and dig bunkers for yourselves. Then they sort of come to an agreement, and we do what? We love and respect our rulers who have saved us, and we don't notice what they have actually done. That is our world.
They created problems, scared us, and then slightly loosened their grip on us.
If it were so, then so be it. We are already like submissive pack animals, like slaves of this world. Well, if it is so, then so be it. But at least our lives are preserved, you see? However, all this can escalate into an uncontrollable process. All it takes is one spark, and you won't be able to put it out. The Cerberus is not enough for us. Now, our greatest minds, whom we elect as our feudal lords, want to kill us with nuclear weapons. Isn't that ridiculous?
Igor Mikhailovich, there is another interesting point. It turns out that in the consumerist format, the fastest way to mobilize and organize such an egregore is actually fear. And it is well known in politics that fear is a very strong unifying force.
We have just discussed that, yes, looking into the eyes of real fear, we are able to unite, but each of us remains a consumer. Even in fear, we will fight each other, and we will not unite the way we are supposed to in order to become a civilization. I mean, can fear create a civilization out of us? It cannot. We will never become one. Why not? We will still defend our interests. Let's suppose extraterrestrials have attacked us and the heads of all countries get together. We have to do something. There begins a transition, let's say, to confrontation, to mobilize everyone, to prepare weapons. Yes, for a short period of time, we will stop and suspend global fighting, wars, or something else. But we will still clash with each other. We will still trample on other people and fight to get to a safer and more profitable place, so to say, over other people's heads. That's the way it is. Why? Because this is the essence of the consumerist format.
You know, in one of our videos, you also said about an egregore that what determines an egregore is that everyone who is connected to it has some kind of a common collective skill,
Yes.
some common experience. What kind of experience can it be?
I'll put it this way. They must have a common goal.
common goal.
It's a common goal that creates an egregore. If our common goal is to resist an alien invasion, then yes, indeed, we learned from movies and various stories. Who hasn't heard it? Everybody has, you know? Then we will be able to unite. But for a short period of time and on a global scale. However, at our level, we will still clash, cheat, and deceive each other.
Any cooperation is out of the question.
It is out of the question, right?
Hence, there can be no development.
So it's an absolutely unstable temporary egregore, and it doesn't meet the requirements of turning people into civilization. This is one side. The other side is that there still remains power and authority over people. That must also be eliminated during the transition from such a socially disparate system to a single civilized world. You see? I mean, a truly civilized one, so that all of us, as the entire world community, can become one united civilization. It's unrealistic if at least someone retains power. Power should belong to people. And do you know what is interesting? I'll digress from this topic a little bit, since we started talking about the creative society and about the transition. It is very interesting with regard to those very UFOs and many other hidden, concealed data, that even from the first days of the transition to the creative society, all super secret and top secret materials will have to be disclosed to society. Why? Because whoever leads and governs a country, let alone the world, must be acquainted with all the data, past and present, meaning with all this top secret waste paper.
And who leads and governs the world in the creative society?
People, all of humanity. Thus, as the leadership, they have to be acquainted with everything. In the creative society, there can be no secrets at all. Absolutely.
Transparency.
And not simply transparency, but honesty, and timely informing of the public about any threats, and not only threats in general. This is, well, let's say, there's the top leader in a country nowadays, and now imagine a single world government has been created, and there has to be the top leader in power all over the world. So this top leader will be every person.
Great.
That's why he has to know everything.
The real picture of what is happening, without sugarcoating it,
Let's just
without
say,
sweet
yes,
lies.
it will be very interesting for those who like to dig in history and to study the past, what things actually happened and how. And at the same time, we will learn our history.
You know, Igor Mikhailovich, there is a deep understanding of how important it is in the context of today's events, because there is a certain fact, and given that there is no transparency and nobody tells the truth about this fact, a lot of interpretations and a lot of speculations arise. And there are numerous egregores formed by the media when people are divided, or they are being told how well we are all living, while people see a completely different picture around them. They see the reality.
Certainly. It's nice when someone comes out and says in the media how great and wonderful everything is, while people are sitting at home and wondering, maybe we don't see something, or we are blind. The leaders know better. They can see farther. Generally speaking, to be honest, the leaders aren't lying. They come out and say, we live beautifully.
Well, yes.
After all, they don't say that in our country. All people live well. They just don't, do they? So everything is fair. I'll tell you this. Citizens of those countries where leaders say so think too highly of themselves, and they are selfish. They think that it's being said about everyone. While a person is honest, he comes out and says, "We are doing great. Everything is fine. We have taken care of all of ours." Well, this is right. You should just listen properly and everything will be fine.
Igor Mikhailovich, you've said very important words today, that an egregore which is built on fear is unstable.
Of course.
There is even a deeper understanding of what you said in the previous video about what can motivate people to come together. You said giving them money will not work.
No.
As for the threat to their life, just look when, for the sake of her own comfort, a mother puts the life of her child in danger.
In danger.
That won't work either. Now we understand that in the consumerist format, they have always formed egregores based on fear. Fear of God, fear of some politician.
You have just answered this question. For the sake of her own comfort, the mother even exposes her child to a risk, taking him to a place where there is danger. For the sake of comfort. Because in the consumerist format, comfort is very rare, let's say. Only fools can be confident in the future. After all, even for the most protected people in this world, their tomorrow depends on the Cerberus, not even on politicians. You see? That is why everything here is so precarious and unstable. As for real comfort, it can only be possible in the creative society. That's where it is really so. There's both security and comfort. Comfort in the highest sense of the word.
There is an understanding that the creative society is built on other principles, on other pillars.
Exactly. The only problem in the creative society is that power will belong to people. And some people don't like it, but there is no other way. As long as there is power, we are doomed. We are doomed to wars and all the bad things that are happening now. And the worst part, which is really scary, is that as humanity, we are doomed to meet the Cerberus, every one of us. That's already sad.
You're actually right in saying that fear mobilizes, but in order to move forward and develop as humans, as a society, there has to be cooperation between people.
Fear is not the best companion. I'll put it this way. A desire to live and a desire to help others is much better, and it's a more reliable and more stable egregore. And what's even better is love. Love for other people, as the prophets bequeathed to us. Right?
That's the basis of everything.
That's the most solid pillar which can unite all people. It is really the best goal that unites. And that's what can really stop the Cerberus and really change the life of every person. After all, that very constitution laid down by the best of men, the Prophet Muhammad, if it had continued to develop back then, imagine what kind of a world we would be living in. I mean, back then, he introduced equality among people and laid all the pillars of the creative society, love and respect for each other.
Of course, there is a great desire to live in such a society, in the creative society, because...
Of course, there is a desire because it's the best that can be. And do you know what the most interesting thing is? That we really can build it. For that, we only need to learn to love each other, right? So my friends, let's just love each other and build the creative society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Igor Mikhailovich.
Thank you. Peace be with you.